Hi everybody, how are you all doing? Welcome to yet another episode of Sydney Social Life, a one of its kind, thought-provoking talk show that puts the spotlight on hidden realities of modern-day social circles and social life here in Sydney. Now, why do I say hidden realities? Because a lot of people are struggling with these issues, but unfortunately, no one is talking about them openly. Except, of course, us here at Sydney Social Live. Now, what is the purpose of this show? The purpose is to spark important conversations, promote positivity, and foster a community that is accepting and non-judgmental. Now, you all know each week I have a special guest who joins me on the show. And today we have one very special, very influential Sydney sider, none other than Gary Patni.
Thank you for having me, Nim.
No, thank you. I am so excited to have you on the show. Are you excited as well?
I am excited. I'm nervous as well. I've never done a live Facebook anything.
Oh, that makes it exciting. Don't worry, you'll be fine. You're very articulate, so all is well. Now, Gary, you don't really need a formal introduction because a lot of Sydney siders already know you.
Really?
Yes, I believe so. You're too humble. But let me read a little bit about Gary for those very few who may not know about Gary, okay? So, glasses on. All right, Gary Patni is a management consultant, screen actor, political activist, and social entrepreneur. He has served globally in senior executive positions leading business transformation initiatives for organizations like Walmart, Woolworths, Coles, Telstra, and David Jones. He has also actively supported the incubation and growth of several tech startup organizations like Scrunch, Raincheck, Nextbar, and Thingstra. As a screen actor, now this part is very exciting, he has starred in TV commercials for brands like CBA, Toyota, Woolworths, Shopback, and Cochlear, and played featured roles in movies like Public Eye. As a political activist, he has been a candidate for local government elections in the city of Ryde and Lane Cove, advocating for sustainable development, social diversity, and fiscal integrity. He is passionately involved in community work and is an active member of City of Ryde's advisory committees for reconciliation, multiculturalism, festival and arts, and sustainability. He serves as CMRC's Multicultural Ambassador and is also the founder of Ryde Multicultural Community Group, which seeks to build an inclusive community in the city of Ryde that embraces, celebrates, and values cultural diversity. I mean, kuch aur hai that you haven't done? Or
That's just about it. Look, maybe an overkill, but it's something that I've kept myself busy with, and just want to make the most of my time, really.
Someday we will get you on the show just to talk about time management and prioritization and how you do it all, right? Looking the way you look. Always not a hair out of place, and yet this person is doing so many things. So we'll talk about that another time. Today, of course, we've got a lot of chatpata topics lined up for our audience. Before we dive in, Gary, I'm just going to let our audience know that we want you to say hi to us, tell us which part of the world you're logging in from, and please ask questions. We've got Gary here today. Any questions you have, please put them in the comments, share your insights, and just be interactive, right? It's much more interesting when we have a two-way conversation. So having said that, Gary, a lot of people know a lot about you already, like I said, and I've just read out this wonderful bio. But I'm sure there are parts of your life, in the early years maybe, the growing up years, that we don't really know much about. So is there anything you want to tell about your early years?
Look, thank you first of all. Yes, I would like to, and just hoping through this. Actually, before I start, can I say, Nim, this is a fabulous platform you've built.
Thank you.
Hats off to you and your better half, Ash.
Did you say better half? He said better half.
No, you are the better half. Sorry. Apologies. We'll edit that later on. The two of you make a great team, but what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
But look, I was hoping, again, I am a very camera shy person, whatever you might think. Yes, I'm an actor, but through this channel, I'm hoping I can hopefully inspire, share my life experiences a bit. So yes, going back to the early years, quite proud of my heritage. My grandparents, they left Punjab, Multan side of Pakistan during partition, left everything they had behind, ran off on a train. And then started life afresh. My parents, they had, they were young when that happened. But over the years, I've realized how much resilience they had to achieve what they did. My dad went on with, grandparents started things up, worked hard. My dad went on to be the most educated in our family, a PhD in 2.5 years. Physics, electronics, senior professor in University of Delhi. My mom working for Reserve Bank of India in a senior executive role. But they worked through it all, and I look back and say, wow, that's an example I want to internalize and have my children as well as anyone else. The resilience. And I guess coming to Australia as immigrants, I've carried that with me, and I hope all of us look back at and just stay resilient no matter what. You always have a fresh start. So my early years were all about just, internalizing all those values of hard work that my parents imbibed in me, and
So you've had some amazing role models by the sound.
Amazing role models, I must say, and I know they're probably watching the show. And thank you for inspiring
everyone,
me.
and Gary's lovely family. If you're watching, I think you've done a great job. Right? Oh, that's fabulous. Excellent. All right, are we ready to dive into today's topics?
Yes, we are. Yes.
And I'm sure our audience is just as excited as I am. All right, so Gary, you and I are both migrants here in Australia, and a lot of the audience for Sydney Social Live is the migrant, the Indian diaspora, for example. Migrants often, one of the biggest challenges when you come overseas, particularly let's say Western countries, the social integration into mainstream society is often a challenge for a lot of people, and does bring up a lot of issues that are very pertinent and particular to the migrant community. Now, I know you have some, because we've been chatting offline about this for a while. I know you've got some very interesting insights about this aspect. So do you want to shed some light for our lovely audience?
Yep, thank you. Look, and a bit more about my own journey, and I'll relate back to the question. I left India back in 1999. After my uni, I went to US, lived there 11 years. Honestly, I look back at those years and say, I don't have one American friend that I can think of as a true friend. A lot of acquaintances.
Yeah.
I moved to Australia as a lifestyle choice. Came to Australia in 2011, and I realized, I've got to make this my home. I'm not moving anywhere else. I love this place. I need to understand and integrate. So social integration. I took that upon myself as something that needed to be achieved very consciously. So again, this is relating to my own journey, and I hope I can get a lot of other people thinking about this, because are you truly integrated? What does integration really mean? To me, it was understanding the local Australian culture really well. Being proud of what Australia is. Look, I'm very proud of what India has to offer, my true identity.
Yes.
But coming to Australia, I actually am in total awe of what Australia as a smallish country has achieved.
Yeah.
65,000 years of a living culture, which by itself, amazing inventions. Leave aside the modern inventions, little things like, the boomerang and didgeridoo. And then coming to modern Australia, the Europeans, the things they've achieved. Wi-Fi was invented in Australia. Google Maps was invented by Australians.
Yes.
Right. Anyway, what I'm saying, I have a true appreciation, and that's where it started. My own journey about social integration with Australia started with being truly appreciative of what this country has to offer. Achievements in sports, achievement in arts.
So it's really about understanding that Janma Bhumi का एक special place है हमारे दिल में, and Karma Bhumi का एक special place है, and both deserve our love, respect, and admiration, है ना?
Absolutely. And look, again, not prioritizing one over the other.
Exactly.
The point I'm trying to make is, 11 years ago I came and I said, wow, Australia. I started interacting. I went out of my way to make friends in the local community in Lane Cove. I got involved in local community work. I went out and campaigned and did fundraising for salvos.
Yeah.
And I got to I've made friends, as in not just acquaintances. What is the family bringing? What are the values? And once that happened, it actually opened up the path for me to better socially integrate.
Yeah.
They were able to understand me, accept me as someone they could open up to.
Yeah.
And when they did, I was able to talk about all the great things I, as someone with an Indian entity,
Yes.
had to offer.
Yeah. You said a very interesting point. You said you went fundraising with the salvos, and I find that volunteering is one of the best ways to understand how the locals live and the local culture. Do you find that a lot of migrants are sort of sticking around with their own and not really therefore getting to know what the local or the locals are like, what the local culture is like, which also is holding them back perhaps?
I do think, unfortunately, again, look, I think it's just about a conscious choice. A lot of us probably don't even realize we're doing this.
Yes.
While we are fundraising, are we doing it in a way that's actually true at heart? Are we thinking about helping the Australian homeless? Or are we kind of insulated, or are we thinking in an isolated way? I think we could do more. I'm not, a lot of us are doing amazing work.
Yeah.
You, Ash, I look around and I look at many, but more could be done, more should be done. I think the social integration is a continuous process.
Yes.
But one thing is, yes, volunteering, as you said, is a great way to do it. But while you're volunteering, I think it's important to understand and build those one-on-one connections with people out there.
Yes.
And again, it's an open question to the audience. How many Australian, and when I say Australian, it could be someone from an Armenian, an Italian,
just from a different cultural
different
heritage.
culture. Yeah,
Yes,
how many can you truly call as friends? Have you come across them? What do you understand about their life? What values have you shared with them? Right? I mean, if we are not doing enough of that, we should be.
And that's the best way to integrate into mainstream society, is just by getting to know people from other walks of life, other cultures. One of the things that a lot of people tell me is, Nim, I don't know what to talk when I meet somebody who's not from my own cultural background. And I just say, sometimes just ask the right questions, get to know what they do, and that's the best way to learn. It's not always about us offering information, it's about asking the right questions.
Spot on. Example, my mom, she lives in Ryde, they've got a place, and during COVID they were stuck, and the only neighbor, the next door neighbor they could actually interact with was an Armenian lady.
Right.
Didn't speak a word of English.
Yeah.
My mom had a bit of English, but anyway, it was amazing how during COVID, just because they liked each other, they were able to have a really interesting interaction, and they actually became kind of good friends.
Yeah.
At least were able to interact and keep themselves busy, sharing gifts, sharing meals.
Yes. That is
It's
amazing.
not about what you talk, it's about what you project.
And how you connect.
How
And
you
sometimes, you don't even need a common language to connect. Right? That is so important. So I think Gary's made a really interesting point, my dear friends, is that here in Australia we're very fortunate to be multicultural. We've got so many communities living here in Sydney. Let's make the effort to get to know people from all walks of life and all cultural backgrounds. It just makes us evolve as people, wouldn't you say?
Look, we are all ambassadors in our own right. We represent India, and let's make use of the opportunity. And it's not just social, by the way. It's professional upliftment.
Absolutely.
The more you understand the local culture, the more you're able to get the best out of what this country has to offer.
Yes.
Be seen as one.
Yes.
Progress professionally and socially.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's a win-win.
I always say Australia is a country where it's not so much what you know, it is who you know. So having the technical skills, having the degrees, the qualifications, yes, definitely very important, but it is also important to have your own networks, right?
And can I say, so I spent a lot of time in US, I worked in Europe a little bit, and Asia. Australia stands out as one country very, very driven on mateship, especially when it comes to professional cultures,
Yes.
Professional environments.
Good point.
And again, having this, the social integration applies in a very important way to professional integration as well.
I agree.
Right?
100%.
So you understand your work culture, your colleagues better, it'll be easier. It'll be easier to manage teams,
Yes.
or to be part of a team, and more cohesive.
Yes.
Right. So
Also, I think there's a misconception that networking should only be done when you're looking for a job, whereas I think a network should be ready, alive, waiting long before you need it for anything. So it's a continuous process. We have to keep working on it.
and not even think about it in an outcome.
Yeah.
We are fortunate in a place like Australia. We're not resource deprived. feeling of abundance.
Yes.
You run a group called Abundance Group, and I get the mindset is important.
Very
as in,
true.
it's not, you don't always have to attach a specific outcome.
Yes.
You're not networking just because there's
You want
something like in
something.
the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Just do it because this is good. This is what life's supposed to be.
And it's about giving value as well. We often think, what can I get from the other person? Instead, let's look at networking as how can I be of help? How can I be someone who can add value? And then networking doesn't seem inauthentic. A lot of people think of networking as transactional, inauthentic. It's not that. If you look at it like, what can I do for the other person? It just becomes so much easier, right?
And it'll come back. Universe has a way of paying back. You
Yes.
do the right things. So again, I've learned over the years, especially when it comes to community work.
Yes.
You don't attach an outcome.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal. I go out on bush care with my son, and we're out there in the middle of nowhere just cutting weeds, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. And I say, I'm giving back to this country
Yes.
that has given me so much.
So
I
true.
don't need anything in return. That helps. That has helped me self-develop. Helping.
I liked your point about abundance, right? This country is about abundance, and it is really about appreciating it and therefore giving back, right? And the more we do that as a community, the further along we'll get. Now, Mamta has said hi, so let's say hi to Mamta. Hi, Mamta. Thank you
Hi,
for joining
Mamta.
in. Now, where are the others? I want to hear my highs, my hellos. I'm waiting. So please do. I know you're enjoying listening to Gary, but please take a moment to say hi to us and share your comments. All right, so that was fabulous. I think we've covered a lot of ground on that question. Let's move on to our next one. This is about stereotypes, one of my favorite topics ever. Stereotypes, breaking stereotypes, about beginning our journey towards becoming what are known as global citizens. Again, I know you have a very unique perspective on this. So what would you like to share with us about this?
Look, conscious self-growth and not leaving my Indian identity behind, but making it come out in a way that people can appreciate. That's been a continuous journey. I can think back about the early years of leaving India in US. I don't think I've managed to break the stereotypes around, Indians are great at technology and maths and stuff. In Australia, actually I'm seeing some first-hand examples of where I personally managed to break cultural stereotypes around what an Indian is supposed to be, and this relates to my acting side, fun hustle.
Yeah.
I only started this 3 years ago, just completely out of a whim. So I don't have enough interesting things going on in my life. I should try my hand at this, and I
Give it a go.
Give it a go. Yeah, I went to NIDA. I did do intensive screen acting. I hired an agent. I was only getting picked for very, very specific Indian roles. You've got to be Indian. Anyway, that was 3 years ago. But over the 3 years, I've kept applying for things that didn't say Indian. And the last 6 months have been actually quite remarkable. Like I'm currently playing on a Toyota ad, which the brief said it's got to be a lawyer who projects confidence. And there was no ethnicity mentioned. I go to Disney Studios where they were holding auditions. There were about 50 people, not one Indian, all Caucasian, because apparently that's what. Well, I got picked for the role, and I also.
Well done.
I was actually pleasantly surprised, and I think I finally am breaking the stereotype. An Indian does not need to be just an IT or a delivery person.
Put in a box, right?
No, but it's come from within. And it's come from because I've started believing very firmly in, look, I can be more than this, and then somehow people are beginning to accept that. So breaking stereotypes starts from within, definitely, and this relates to this other topic I thought, growth mindset, which is let's not be constrained by what we're born with. I think a lot of people tend to think, we're born with this, we can't change it. I refuse to believe that.
Absolutely.
Whether how we look, what we do, how we think, everything is continuous. Breaking stereotypes is just one element of that.
So
you decide and I don't care what people think. I don't care what the world wants. Don't be constrained at all. And that's how you break stereotypes. not just me, I've seen other people do that as well. I mean, I'm sure you are as well. I know you.
Yeah. You're talking about growth mindset, and that's a great point. So just for those who don't know, a growth mindset is really about believing that you may be born with certain qualities, but you don't have to be stuck with those qualities for your entire life. You can grow, you can evolve, you can become a different person just by tapping into your potential. It's believing that those limitations are not going to stop you, right? So that's an amazing point you brought up.
Look, personal journey, and again, I might just refer to everyone goes through so many things in their lives, whether professionally, personally. It's also about how do we deal with setbacks, challenges, and that's part of early years. Again, just in relation to acting, I was constantly I was pigeonholed into that and said I refuse to believe. There's a lot of setback as well. It's very very acting may seem glamorous and all,
but it's hard
It's
work.
got the highest rejection rate of any industry out there. I do about 10 auditions a week, and I get picked occasionally once a month for something.
Very humbling.
It's very humbling. I'm constantly getting rejected, but I'm not taken back. I say, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
That's just one example. Even, personally, I think we should all be, we all come across professional traumas, personal traumas, it's the growth mindset is also not being constrained either by what you're born with or by new things that life throws at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Edison had once said that I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. Which is amazing, right? That is really what we need to remember, that every setback should just make you more determined to move forward, like Gary has so rightly pointed out.
Look, it works well, and actually taking that fear of rejection, it's one of the things I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And I'll relate to my political bit. I've been out there campaigning, and a lot of people just show up and say, just show off. All right, I'll just move to the next guy.
That's it.
Early years, that wasn't the case. I was taken aback and said, I'm being insulted all the time. This is hard. So Lane Cole, that was ran the first elections years ago, and it was very humbling. And I'm sure we've all come across people giving handouts, and think about how often you just ignore and walk past them. Well, I was one of those who was trying to hand out. But again, even that's what I learned was I've got to just take away the fear of rejection, whether that's in that circumstance or anywhere else in life.
And not take it personally, I suppose, right? When you take everything personally, then our egos come in, and then it's chaos. So that's a great point.
It gives you so much.
Yeah.
It gives once you take away that fear of rejection, you can achieve anything.
Very liberating.
Very liberating.
Fabulous. That was amazing. That brings us to our last topic for the day. Very, very important topic. So, Gary, as you know, I am a very keen observer of what is happening around us in society. I do write a lot about these things. One of the things I've noticed in the migrant community, and this is something that does concern me, is there are a lot of marital breakdowns. There are a lot of professional upheavals that people are. So in the personal space where relationships are crumbling, in the professional space where careers may not be taking off, a lot of that is happening, sadly. I know that there are a few things you want to share with our audience, so I'll just let you take it from here.
Thank you. Look, again, we all live through that, and that's the nature of the modern society, whether that's marital, professional. I've had multiple redundancies, and again, there was time and I said, I can't even talk about that, but I have, and it's great I've come out of it and doing better than I ever did professionally, because I left aside that, feeling of humiliation, or I stopped associating that with humiliation.
Yes.
Right, so that was anyway professional. Even personal, I had a relationship breakdown that actually initially took a while for me to get my head around. The way, again, if I can, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are, look, just keep going and find ways to self-heal. Don't let bitterness get to you. One thing I've learned is, again, trauma can do two things to you. Make you bitter or make you extremely accepting of everything and make you resilient. Choose the second option. Personally, when I was going through this bit of trauma, that's when I went to NIDA. Said, I'm going to try my hand at something creative. And I found something that's actually just made me, I think, in general, a more wholesome person. I think I can think in multiple dimensions. well, and
This is your
yeah.
growth mindset again,
It's,
isn't it?
but a lot of people out there are, as well are.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one, but
Yes.
more. Look, anyone feeling the pain, just know one, you're not the only one. A lot of us are going through the same. It's what we do with it. Don't let it make you bitter.
Yes, don't let it defeat you. And like Gary said, find a creative outlet and maybe you will find out aspects of your personality you didn't even know existed. I mean, look, you joined the acting world and you're doing amazing things now, breaking stereotypes, becoming a global citizen. So kudos to you and more power to you.
Thank you. Well, same to you. I mean, you're doing the same. And you should be on the other side one of these days, and we should have got to interview you.
Someday. Right now, I'm so enjoying grilling my guests about all these amazing topics, and they're all doing amazingly well. So, thank you for that. Now we come to our very fun chat-pata rapid fire round, which is my favorite part. So, I'm going to ask you some very quick questions.
Sure.
And you got to think on your feet and tell me what you think the answer is.
Got it.
Okay? So, firstly, are you a chai person or a coffee person?
A black coffee with no sugar. That's my recent, I've got to focus on calories version. If I let go of the calories, I would love a masala tea with a lot of sugar and a lot of... No, but I drink black coffee that looks horrible, but you know, it gets me going.
Good. Whatever works, that's excellent. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I would say morning. I have to get up early as to take care of the children who have to head out early. They're 13 and 17. Drop them at the for the school run. Get up early. Hence, I'm generally depleted of all energy by 9ish, which is an extremely unromantic thing. You know, yawning at 9.
So no candlelight dinners or anything like that?
I need an extra cup of coffee generally to get through those
Black
last few
coffee
hours.
with a little bit of honey, that kind of thing. Okay, fair enough. And what is your idea of a fun Friday night?
Actually, a fun Friday night, if I could find the right DJ to play the best Bollywood that actually ramps up in the tempo. Can I say to all the DJs out there, we need better music. I'm sure we can do better than what we are right now. And sorry, not being critical, but that's my fun Friday. Head out with my partner to typically a Bollywood dance event.
Oh, nice.
Dance a night away. But the music has to be good, and I think it could be improved.
So any DJs out there watching, do let us know of any upcoming Bollywood Dhamaka nights, because I'm sure Gary would love to come and join you all over there for his fun Friday night. So that's awesome. Now I'm going to ask you a very tough question, and it's going to be very hard for you to answer this one. Crispy Rava Masala Dosa or Chola Bhatura?
It's always, I wish I could have both if I was not watching my calories, but look, I'm leaning more towards a dosa these days.
Is
I
it?
think that
Okay.
just...
Wo bhi crispy Rava Masala Dosa.
Crispy rava, I'm very, very specific about it.
Yeah.
No other dosa would do.
The way you described your coffee also, I realized, okay, it's very specific, right? So it has, mine is just masala dosa. But no, crispy Rava Masala Dosa. Very
Extra
good.
spicy if I can get that.
Okay, fabulous. Yum. Now I'm always hungry after this round because everybody tells me all these yummy things. Acha, when you're talking about food, what's your favorite cuisine? Like overall, when you think of cuisine, what's your favorite?
Indian by far. Look, and I have lived in so many places in the world. Indian, I just think Indian when it comes to food. That's my absolute.
And is there any go-to place that you would like to tell us, in Sydney, what's your favorite go-to place when it comes to eating?
For the crispy rava masala dosa, A to B by far.
Is that the one in Harris Park?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And for the chola bhatura, Mitra da Dhaba, Blacktown.
Ooh, so if you are watching, here's Gary recommending that we should come there. That's awesome. I do have to ask you one more question, but before that, if there are any aspirational actors out there watching, let's say they're based in Australia and of our ethnicity, what are some things you would like to tell them?
Aspirational actors, look, you've got to work hard. It's taken me a while. There's no shortcuts to this. I did spend a fair bit of time understanding what screen acting means. There is an art to it. You've got to get comfortable in front of the camera. You've got to do a lot of silk tapes, and there is a huge degree of rejection you've got to get ready for. So, you know, you can do what you want, but it's a smallish industry, it's not Bollywood. There was a time I actually thought, oh, if this is anything like Bollywood, I could get rid of my day job and be full-time acting. Unfortunately, and that's the one downside of being in Australia, it's just simply not big enough. So don't expect, you know, you can go out there and make a decent living
big
out of
splash
acting.
straight away. But saying that, people like Gary Patni have been trailblazers, pathfinders, and they have been breaking stereotypes. So the doors will open a whole lot easier for the next generation because of people like you and the hard work you've put in. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And okay, if I can help anyone, please reach out. I'm always would be.
The one good thing about Gary is he's very helpful, and he's someone filled with great ideas. So by all means, that is awesome. Now, before we wind up, I know there are some interesting things you want to tell our audience. So what are some last words you'd like to say? Yeah,
look, I want to take a moment for a quick plug for my dad's book. So Dr. Anand Patni, he's a retired university professor, physics and electronics, Delhi University. He's the nerdiest guy you would meet. A couple of years ago, I saw him scribbling something. It was about how Bruce Lee's one punch, described in a very physics way.
Okay.
You know, he had written a short story around it. I said, how did you do that? A nerdy guy actually understanding Bruce Lee's one punch action, combining that with the laws of physics and with spirituality.
Oh, wow.
So this book, again, is hot off the press. It's going to be on Amazon soon.
What's it called?
It's called Whispers in a Universe. And my dad's 79. I love him for doing this phase of his life.
We need to clap for this. Amazing.
If he can inspire more elderly, our senior citizens. Oh, look! Don't. You've got to do what my dad's doing. My mom's great too. She does. She likes singing and acting, and they're both inspirational. But thank you, Dad, for doing this.
So let us read the author's name again. So it's Dr. Anand Patni.
That's correct.
And it's Whispers in Our Universe. So look out for this amazing book. And that's so inspirational that your dad has put in, writing a book honestly is blood, sweat and toil. Not an easy feat. So kudos to your dad. Do give him my regards.
I will. Thank you.
That's awesome.
And thank you again for the opportunity.
No, my pleasure. Anything else? Any of your upcoming projects you want to shed light on?
Oh, lot to. No, actually, the one plug I want to use is for you and Ash again. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for giving this platform. You're inspiring a lot. Love your daily, just very commonsensical advisor. It's lovely how you conceptualize and word it in just a way that people can actually make sense of. So my only closing comments are. Thanks to you for doing this.
No, my pleasure. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been an absolute delight chatting with you. We could chat forever, but unfortunately, due to the constraints of time, we have to wind up. Thank you so much, lovely people, for spending another slice of your Sunday. Sundays are so precious, Gary, but they all turn up, and if they miss it, then they watch the recording, which I love. So those of you who haven't joined us live, if you have any questions for Gary, please put those in the comments. We'll read those later, and I'm sure Gary will respond. Thank you so much. Take care. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.